held at Kempton Park in the east of Johannesburg. Discussions are to try and equip leaders and those in the public sector with insight and knowledge as to how to deal with the challenges faced in the public sector. So with me to talk about the forum and other things is the new Auditor General, Mr. Kimi Makwetu. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, morning, Ayanda.
3 months into the job right now?
Yes, 3 months into the job.
You're settling into it nicely?
I'm settling in, and like anything that's new, it's always going to be bumpy at the beginning, but the road ahead is looking positive.
Good. Tell us a bit more about the forum. It began yesterday. What can you tell us about what came out?
Well, I attended the Institute of Internal Auditors Forum yesterday, and the focus was around how internal auditors operating in the public sector could help improve and enhance the ability of the public sector to become stronger in financial management. So they are continuing with their discussions, and largely it's people who are internal auditors in government who are gathered there, and I think it's finishing off today.
It's an annual event. How effective has it been in years past, and how are you making sure that it's not just a talk shop?
Well, the focus yesterday was largely about how can we as an audit office bring about our insights to assist the internal auditors in government to help the executive do the best they can in improving financial management in government. And we have taken practical steps yesterday to make suggestions about how that collaboration between internal and external auditors could be improved. So I'm hoping that over time that will become an embedded reality in the public sector.
The issue of financial management that you just speak of now, there's been a lot of mismanagement, especially in the public sector. Your predecessor, Terence Nombembe, speaking of the tune of 31 billion rand in wasteful, fruitless expenditure. I think that was last year. How are you making sure that you educate the people in the public sector? And having said that, is the problem ignorance or is it blatant disregard of procedures?
If I look back to the first question you raised regarding the internal auditors, I think the internal auditors could be regarded as the foot soldiers in the public sector who are there before the external auditors are there, because they spend every day in the institutions where they operate as internal auditors. And we think that they can lift the game in making sure that the executive leadership, the people charged with oversight, are constantly appraised of things as they are happening, so that when the deviations are picked up at the end of the audit, for us it's a question of confirmation of what's already known by very significant professionals within the public sector in terms of the internal auditors. But we also believe that the level of training and development in terms of their capacity, as well as promoting their independence as an independent evaluator of executive management, must also be promoted.
And so it just goes back to the question there. I don't know if you answered it. It was wrong of me actually to ask 2 or 3 questions in one sentence. Is the problem then in the public sector the fact that people don't know how to manage the funds, don't know the proper procedures and processes, or the fact that it's a blatant disregard of the rules and regulations?
It's a combination of people who haven't got the minimum competencies required to do the job, as well as those that do know those requirements in terms of the rules that apply in the public sector. A lot of them are articulated in the Public Finance Management Act. For example, if you look at Section 38 of the PFMA, it sets out very clearly what the roles and responsibilities of an accounting officer are. So clearly, I think we've found a combination, especially when it comes to issues of irregular expenditure, as well as unauthorized expenditure. It's a combination of people who do not possess the skills, but also the people who do know tend to disregard those processes even though they know they exist.
And what other issues were raised in the forum?
One of the things in the forum that was raised, which we took very keen interest in, was the need for the external auditors in the form of the Auditor General to take seriously the work that is done by internal audit in the form of working towards relying on the work of internal audit so that we can continue to focus our attention on other matters in government. So we've taken kindly to that suggestion, and we have committed to work very closely with the internal audit fraternity to promote the relevance and the essence of internal audit in government.
The gathering wraps up today. Just in closing, where to from here?
From here, we think that internal audit needs to find space to speak to the executive leadership in government on a regular basis so that they own up to the weaknesses that exist in their institutions. And we believe that there's a strong capacity within the Institute of Internal Auditors in South Africa to achieve exactly that. And we hope if that is achieved over time, we could end up in a public sector that is better than today.
I know I said that was the last question, but I can't help from that answer just ask one or two more. Do you think that your recommendations or whatever it is that you have to say, your caution, your warning, will be taken seriously?
There's a number of institutions that have already demonstrated positive inclination towards implementing our recommendations, but there's a flood of them that have not. Many of them are struggling with basic skills, particularly in the far-flung rural areas in terms of municipalities. A combination of all of this for us is that there is certainly a positive movement in the right direction, but it's very slow and it's extremely slow. However, we think that with a stronger internal audit fraternity, things could move in the right direction.
And do you think you have enough authority to change status quo?
We can only influence the people who make the decisions. So if we say somebody does not have the minimum requirements to be a chief financial officer, it is not in our power to dismiss them. Somebody else must. All we have to do is to promote the ethical conduct in government when it comes to financial management and influence the decision makers to make the right decision.
I'll have to leave it there. Maybe we'll catch up with you a year into the job and find out how it's been going. Thank you so much, Mr. Kimi Makwetu, joining us there, discussing at that summit, the forum that took place. It started yesterday, wraps up today. Let's take